Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. This is Tom from Came to Believe Recovery, and welcome to Recovery Live, our June 3rd edition, our weekly Friday stream where we discuss everything addiction. We got a great show for you today. We got a bunch of guys on from California, our team that's so excited, just coming off of several retreats in California. Um, um, we have Dale Barker's coming on from Florida, who also just had a retreat. We've just had a fabulous month and a great couple weeks and months coming up. Lots of news about new things happening in recovery. So, without further ado, I want to bring Dale Barker on from Christmas, Florida, as my co-host today. How are you doing today, Dale?
Doing well. Doing well. Woke up again. Might as well enjoy it.
What's the weather like in Christmas, Florida today?
Well, so far it's nice. We've got like a tropical system moving across the south part of the state tonight and tomorrow, so it'll be raining from dark to tomorrow night at dark.
So, guys, it's really interesting. Dale was telling me because he lives in Christmas, Florida. So you could think about this coming up. So people drive from all over the state of Florida to go to the Christmas, Florida post office to send their Christmas cards because then it's postmarked from Christmas. So he says they open up trailers and stuff. They have to bring in like extra people, right? People are like lined up on the street, right?
Well, they put baskets out. You just put them in the basket. Drive through, stick your hand out the window, put them in the basket. They fill the basket up, they roll it in, and so yeah, it can be kind of a traffic hazard down there.
Mm-hmm. But there's not much else in Christmas, guys. I got to
No,
tell you.
just
And
us.
Santa Claus is not there. Anyway, Dale and I had a great meeting yesterday. We were talking about the Missouri Project, which is something that Dale and I and Taryn Price and Alicia, along with Carrie Toon and her husband, are going to in a few weeks, where we're going to practice seed. We're going to seed a new retreat in an area where we have no Came to Believe presence at the moment. And it's really exciting as we're talking about taking the team in to do really what we did at city teams and in many ways what we've done in California to bring Came to Believe recovery. And we hope that the seeding will happen exactly the same way it has happened in California, which we're going to talk about in a minute about like where California has gone. But I'm really excited about it, Dale.
Yeah, that California City Teams retreat was a life changing experience. To see the program, the principles of the program work the way they did in a location that it was very much needed. Uh, the program they had there, the struggles the people were going through, and to see them get set free and have hope again, that they can do this too for themselves. It was really amazing to be a part of that.
Um, I too, Dale, think it was somewhat different than what we normally do. Uh, as far as we went into a facility there, we had a captive audience pretty much, they weren't, they were captive. But so if any of you are out there watching us and you're wondering, what are those guys talking about? We're talking about the Came to Believe retreats that we've been running around the country and the world for over 50 years. In the tradition of Clarence Snyder, who was sponsored by Dr. Bob, founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, and the method that they were doing the steps back in the beginning when it was the most successful, where they were doing it quickly in an afternoon in many cases. And then Clarence moved on to be doing it over a weekend in a facility in Akron, Ohio. And the recovery world has lost that method over the last several decades in general. And what we seek to do is just bring it back. We are bringing back the same method that they used back then. And we take everybody through the steps in a weekend. And we hear it all the time. You can't do it. You can't do it. Right. And then at the end, they go, oh, yeah, I guess you can. And why didn't anybody ever tell me this? So that's what we do, guys. We're around the country and we're trying to expand everywhere. As you heard, we're going to be in Missouri. We're blowing up in California. Just got off the phone with a guy in Portland, Oregon yesterday, Dale, who is lives at a facility who said it can hold 100 people. Can we come out and show them how to do this? You know, right. They said to me, we read about this. We read about Clarence. We've read that this can be done this way, but we don't know how to do it. They said, and can you guys come and help us learn how to do it? So some of you guys that are in our backstage right now, Bruce and Ricky, who are going to come on in a second, we may have one of you guys taking a road trip up to Portland, Oregon. Actually, it's right across the river in Washington State to help us start one up there. But what an amazing thing. Dale, before I bring them on, I want to read, because of all these things we've been doing. Well, let's take a minute and say hi to some of the people watching us today. We have Taryn Price in the Mojave Desert. Hi, Taryn, who is going to join us in Missouri. And then we'll be joining her in Arizona a couple weeks later. She called me last night and was a little bit like, what am I doing? I'm going to go to Missouri. And 2 weeks later, running a retreat in Arizona. And we're going to talk about that today, what it takes to run a retreat from a volunteer standpoint. What it is, what really it is. It's a lot of work and not a lot of work, and very satisfying. Carrie Toon. Hey, Carrie, she's also going to be joining us in Missouri. She says hi to you too, Dan. Melissa McManus. We have the UK in the house with Melissa. She's going to be joining us tomorrow for the follow-up on Zoom. Melissa's a great help from behind the scenes, helping us run our Zoom programs when we do anything Zoom. Melissa is our master technician from behind the scenes. Wesley Branson from Kentucky in the house again. Anna, she's a regular. Welcome, Anna. Thank you. And like last week, Anna and I finally are Facebook friends. I want to read this. Doc Roth. All right, Doc, we were waiting. Where were you? I want to read this testimony that we got, Dale, from somebody that was in Nevada City just 2 weeks ago. And I have another testimonial too, but let me read this from Chris Selvey, who has given us permission to read this about his experience that weekend. And it says this. My name is Chris S., and I'm a recovered extreme marijuana user and some other drugs, drinker, sugar addict, with social anxiety disorder, codependent. Well, he's got the full Monty, huh, brother?
He's got it all. Qualifies.
He qualifies. Last month, I attended the CTBR in Nevada City as one of the first-time attendees. I was completely amazed with the whole experience from the first-hand accounts given by previous recovered CTBR goers and the joy that they had received completing the program as a result. It gave me hope. I traditionally had attended AA Celebrate Recovery. Though I had good experience with learning about recovery from these programs, I just didn't realize that the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous had mentioned many had fully recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. I was amazed, went through the steps with the group, and now I am recovered. I deeply was impacted at the CTBR, Came to Believe retreat, and I cannot wait for the next one so I can bring some more friends. The friends I had invited with me were forever impacted too, with their experience as well as they had told me. Thank you, God, for the truth about being fully recovered. I know living now that I can live happy, joyous, and free forever. God bless CTBR program and its founders and friends. It truly, really, and truly is a lifesaver.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were at our Thursday night Came to Believe meeting last night, and one of the guys that was at our retreat named Bobby, young guy, that got a flyer because he came to the meeting and got encouraged to sign up for the retreat, and all the struggles he had to get signed up and to get there, and then to get a resentment when he got there. But his witness last night, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was unbelievable what he got from that weekend. It made all of the effort worthwhile, just hearing that.
Wow, that's awesome. I have another one to read too, but we'll wait to for a little later to read another one. We do hear these things, Dale. This is what happens to people.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Me too. I would have said, I don't know how this could happen. And it keeps happening. So let's bring some of our guests on today. So I have two guests, Dale, two guys. You know them both. They've been relatively new members to the Came to Believe world when compared to you and I. But Ricky, Wade, and Bruce have been really part of us since the virtual started, and before even we were connecting with them through Dale Marsh. Ricky is in Foster City, California. I think he's going to say yes or no and correct me if it's not exactly Foster City. And then Bruce is nearby. And he can tell us exactly where you are. But they're the Bay Area is what we call it, right? The Bay Area of California. And they've been recovery leaders in their area. And then they got connected with us. So I'm going to bring them on. I bring on Ricky Wade and Bruce Mays.
Howdy.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing today? How's California?
Great.
Yeah, California's good.
It's morning there,
A little
right?
gloomy. Yeah, it's morning here. It's a little overcast, a little drizzle, but kind of June weather, I guess.
Yeah.
So
we kind of call our area the peninsula, right, of the Bay Area.
The peninsula.
Yeah. I'm in Palo Alto, California, and Ricky's down the road.
All right. How close are you guys to each other?
20 miles maybe?
probably, yeah.
Yeah, 20 miles, something like that.
Mhm.
So, guys, if you've ever been to California, anybody, that could be 2 hours, 20 miles. I mean,
Yeah, you're right. It's true.
the traffic is epic in California. It's ridiculous. Ricky and I took a trip from Foster City over to, we were going to the other side of the bay, right? Wherever that was. It was only 25 miles away. I think took us a couple hours.
Yeah,
at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's worse than here.
Yeah, and it's getting worse too, unfortunately.
So I think let's and to start our conversation about, initially anyway, our experiences and testimonies and what we've seen happening at retreats, and then I want to move into talking about what it takes to start one from the volunteer standpoint, from you guys' standpoint. This is a testimonial from Carol G, who she attended the Loma Mar retreat. So Chris Selvey had come to Northern California, the Nevada city, and this is from Loma Mar just 2 weeks prior to that. So just about a month ago. And this is what she said. I had a wonderful experience at the Came to Believe weekend retreat. The in-person weekend retreat was phenomenal, as people from all walks of life came together, seeking a deep, powerful, and effective solution that was rooted and grounded in what the founders of the program did. I watched, participated, observed, and experienced a profound, precious, and beautiful occurrence unfold as lives were changed. People were set free, and a new lease on life was granted to all who were willing and wanted to receive it. I came away a changed woman. I have no doubt many others' lives were changed for good as well. Absolutely amazing. That is a powerful testimony. And watching Carol there was fun because she had only been to virtual prior to that. Not that the virtual isn't great, but that was really eye-opening for her, as with you guys, right? Because I think aside from city teams, that was the first really on-ground retreat that you guys had been to, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you guys' experience too. Bruce, first, maybe you, being that was your first time coming to one of our retreats on ground. What was your experience like?
It was really good. Actually, the city team one was pretty powerful as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, because I saw a couple guys sitting there kind of like, and they were like going like this, like, they looked like completely disinterested. And by the time they came back on Saturday morning, it started to change from sitting way back like this to sitting up and paying attention. And then seeing 40 guys on their knees and 10 or 12 women, praying the third step prayer, pretty powerful stuff, and then at Loma Mar, the same thing, just this sense of community and love and just amazing. Yeah. I'm completely sold on Came to Believe, and nobody can tell me any different.
with that. How do you feel, Ricky? I mean, we threw Ricky into the mix. He was our MC for the weekend. He had done that on our virtual retreats, and he's certainly like built for that. He was a master MCer for the weekend. How was that weekend for you, Ricky?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Bruce. You know, Tom, when we were planning it, right, it ended up landing on Mother's Day, right? And we were just like, okay, you know, this is the only date kind of we had for that location, and so we thought, you know, the need is so great here. We just want to launch one. We just want to get it going and see what kind of traction we can build here. And you know, people from LA, people from Minnesota. I mean, we were so surprised. We sold out too, right? So we were just like, wow, you know. So it was very encouraging, launching something new. Like you're saying, it's kind of controversial in a sense, right? When you get into the rooms and stuff like that, but launching something new that's really deeply rooted in, you know, what the big book says, and seeing the result was yeah. I mean, I was still kind of, you know, on a high from it, if you will. Like, right, I'm still just like, man, you know, hearing, because we go to a weekly meeting, you know, like Dale said, and we still have people that are coming wearing their shirt, still talking about the weekend and how they like it. And so we're telling them, hey, we're going to do another one. And they're just like, yeah, they're excited. So yeah, I mean, again, launching something new, not sure in how the community that you're part of is going to accept it, receive it. You know, like Bruce and I have had many conversations and just seeing how people loved it, and just how things organically unfolded at the retreat, fellowship, new friendships. You know, the campfire, the karaoke. I mean, everything was just like we didn't organically. We didn't have to like try too much. It just was so fun being able to MC that, introduce, you know, the speakers, and kind of keep the flow going. And like I told them, I was up front, got to see everybody's faces, and kind of how Bruce was saying, like, see the faces start changing over the weekend. You know, just start coming to life and having hope, and I think not only hope for themselves, but hope for the community, the 12-step communities that they're part of, that they can now share this with their friends and family and people they probably have been sponsoring. They can't get them through the steps. They can't get them to do the work, you know, and it's just all the challenges that come with it. So yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm really grateful. So
That's great, Ricky. You know, and the Jason from Portland, who I was speaking with last night, was saying that. He said, we can't get people through their steps. We can't get them. It's taking so long. And we nobody makes it to steps 8 and 9, you know, to get the promises. And so being able to have a system like we have, which is what the founders did, and we didn't make anything up. We're just bringing in back what they did. The freedom is so impactful. And you're right, Ricky. I mean, I've said this before. I think that when we planned this, Ricky, you and I, we thought 20 or 25 people, you know, we'd be happy if 25 came, you know.
yeah,
And we ended up with 60, I think, or more, over 60. And we had to open up rooms, and we had to do the same and things. And right, people from Wisconsin came. I remember you going, somebody said, I think they made a mistake. I think they were trying to sign up for the Wisconsin retreat. And then we reached out to them. No, they were coming to California.
yeah.
And people from LA came up, and from really all over from Auburn and all over there. Alicia came, and people came from around. So we do draw generally from the area where the retreat is, but we always have outliers come from all over the place. In the same time period, the Leesburg retreat was going on, and so was the Amory retreat in Wisconsin for the same weekend. The two retreats were going on. And Dale, you were seeing the same things happening, right?
Oh yeah. We had I mean, our registration didn't really kick in until 3 weeks before the retreat. And then all of a sudden we were just deluged with all these people coming in because you know, we're not affiliated with a big group. You know, we have our own meeting and we have our own group that we run, but it's not a AA is, you know, with the pandemic and everything, the attendance is really down. So we found that the people that needed to be there just started signing up without much contact from us, which was completely different than our model before the pandemic, because it was all about going to meetings and handing out flyers and making personal contacts. So social media, I think, worked quite well in driving people to our retreat from around Central Florida. And then we got people from out of town that were, that came. A guy came from Detroit by himself, and he had a life-changing experience. And he just heard about it. He was going to go to the North Carolina retreat, which didn't happen, and he came to our retreat instead. And he was so glad he came. And yeah, I'm simply amazed that I get to be a part of it. Really, I never dreamed when I came to AA in 1991 that I'd be doing something like this for people, So it's way exceeded my expectations being part of Came to Believe.
And it's so great now that we're seeing more and more, Dale, like you say, and all the people showing up that are not coming from our meetings, and they're finding us through this show. People have seen us and through social media, and they're just saying, we just heard about you guys and we want to come. And we've had people at every retreat here lately under that category. And that means we're doing something right, I think. And it's our whole mission is to reach out, stay outside the door. We got to reach those people outside the door, which is a reference from Shoemaker's poem about I stand by the door. We want to be out there to reach the least, the last, and lost in every category of life. Everybody that's hurting and broken from whatever background, whatever race, whatever orientation, anything. We want to be open to all. And we're going to talk more about that as time goes on, about opening into other communities of that feel put off by us, not us particularly, but the recovery world, and feel like they're not welcome in some ways. So we're going to be we're going to reach into the more and more and more to get a diverse population at every level, because that's what the God of the founders would have done. He would have not closed the door on anybody and actually gone and sought after those that were the furthest away from the door so that we could bring them in. So some efforts like that are going to happen. So fabulous, guys, right? I think we had 233 people in 3 weeks go through retreats.
So cool.
That was the number in the end, 233.
Wow.
And if statistics hold and they do their 10, 11, and 12, if you're listening, 10, 11, and 12, 90% of them, or some, 210 people, never drink a drug again and go on to live wonderful lives. And that is our experience with those that follow and continue to follow. For anyone listening, it is our experience.
And those people that they affected with their drinking and drugging, they don't have to stay sick either.
Right.
That's the little known fact about alcoholism and drug addiction, is it affects so many people around you that get the same sickness without using. And when you go through the personal and moral inventory, it cleans all that mess up, and you get to live happy, joyous, and free despite the addict or the alcoholic. And that's a message that Clarence always talked about. It's a family disease. When the family gets sick together, they need to get well together. And that's what these steps do. They bring people back together, families back together.
Unbelievable. So we know it works, guys, right? We've been through these retreats and we sit here like, oh, and that's it. And somebody behind the scenes might be like, oh, there's nothing to it. Well, it's far from nothing to it to put these things on. When we started years back in the late 90s, when it started to really take off, but there was only 4 retreats, and Dale and I remember this. There was only 4 retreats in the whole country. And so Steve and Sue Foreman and Jack and BJ and all went to all these retreats, and it was very grassroots, very organic, very local, and the team of volunteers is who ran it. It was the same people that went around. So as we've grown, of course, challenges of creating teams and gathering volunteers have emerged, and especially lately as we're really trying to grow. But let's talk a minute about what it takes to run a retreat, what it takes to start a retreat today. What it took back then was less or a different focus, and it was all volunteer based. And today, while we do have some staff now, we can move even quicker. But let's talk a little bit about that from your point of view, Dale, who you just ran one in Leesburg. And you're a 100% volunteer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The time commitment and the effort.
It started when the flyers went out with my name and phone number and my email on there. Thanks to whoever made that decision to put my email on there. And I answered my phone more in the 90 days leading up to retreat than I have probably in 5 years. Because people were calling and wanting to know what it was about. And then, and first off, as a leader, I'm not an administrator. I'm not a detail person. Those aren't my gifts. So finding someone that is, having someone like that is crucial, and having support for that person that they don't get overwhelmed is crucial. So you assemble a team with the talents that you need, but you have to take who's willing, really, and then figure out what's the best way to go about it. So our team was a little different this time, just because of COVID, and some people had passed away, and people had kind of dropped off the map, and so it was a little of a rough start, but we gained momentum during the weekend, and people were amazed. They had forgotten about the problems of the opening night, and totally enjoyed being there for the most part. So, but it takes a little bit of a commitment. Be ready.
It starts kind of with, there's like a 2 element. There's the background administrative part, which is the contract and the venue. And you guys don't know, and Ricky and I were involved in that along with Lisa and Katsera behind the scenes. And Dale, you're involved in that too. When the contract with the venue and how many people, and right, Ricky, are we going to have childcare, and where are they going to stay, and how many single rooms, and how much does a double room cost, and are we having pizza on Friday? Are we going to have this food on Friday? And do they have lavalier mics, or do they have hand mics? And do they have, audio visual? And how are the chairs set up? All of that, guys, is what we have to deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that does fall. Some of that falls on you guys, the volunteers on the front line, because we can't do some of that. We can't do, and some of that all depends on who's coming and what leaders are going to be there, right? And how many people are going to be there as to how we want it set up. And a lot of it has to do with, what do you guys like? Do you want a setup like this? And I think we changed the setup twice in Loma Mar, didn't we? We were going to face one way, then we were going to face another way, and then we decided to face out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
How did the process seem to you now? Now, I will say, guys, that Ricky and Bruce have had an advantage this time. And the advantage is Lisa and Katsera. That's behind
Big
the scenes.
Advantage.
Which is not Dale in the past. Now he's had an advantage of that, but in the past had not had that advantage, and things were going through. So with you guys, some things were different. How did you find the experience, Ricky, the whole planning experience from beginning to coming to the day?
Yeah, I mean, I've had experience with some other retreats before in the past, so it wasn't totally foreign to me. It wasn't totally brand new. In that venue, we had held one years ago. We'd held a couple there too, so I was a little familiar with all that. So, but there was a lot of details, and I think part of the biggest thing was people were emailing me, like Dale said, and calling and wanting more information and stuff. So I was kind of like the contact point for the area, and we kind of partnered too with Bruce, and then with some South Bay recovery. So we also had multiple groups kind of coming into it, so it wasn't just one group. But yeah, I think the way that it was set up, we have a nice foundation now for doing the next one. We kind of worked through a lot of those kinks, of knowing, being on site, knowing what on site is like, knowing what the setup is, and knowing what stuff they offer us and all that. So for me, I guess it was kind of a initially kind of finding out how all those things work. And having my registration assistant that was working with, Kasara and Lisa, and then, utilizing each person that I had to get things done. And now I kind of feel like now I know who to ask, now I know what to expect. Right. But so I think initially it was just kind of paving that way to understand how all those things work. And coming back to the retreat center, like Dale said, after COVID, things changed there and their staff. And, so there was a little bit of challenges with that, just coming back to an on ground face-to-face thing. But overall, I mean, it was just exciting keeping up with the momentum of the people who were interested, and keeping in the back of my mind that like there's work involved in this, but it's for a good purpose. It's for, what I mean? Ultimately, like this is for a great purpose, and being excited about the people who are coming. And then the women from Sacramento that were in a treatment center, right? I mean, it's just like, boom, like these are the folks who really want to be there. We want everybody to be there, right? But we also want, these folks who have maybe never done the steps, who are really struggling with, doing them. And so just keeping that in the back of my mind, like this is such a great, very rewarding, the whole time, and exciting. And even my wife was saying like early on, she's like, you guys are going to sell out. Like you just like, you're constantly on the phone and emails with people like all the time. Like, I'm just like, whoa, yeah, just overwhelmed, but super excited, and excited for recovery, again, and excited for people to experience what I experienced, early on in recovery, doing the 12 steps. So yeah, definitely a lot of work, but I think there's a great foundation laid for the next one. And I just would encourage anybody who wants to start one. There's a team of people around you. I mean, we send people up to, Nevada City. I mean, like Tom, you said, people fly around the country. Different teams or leaders who have done it and have experienced it are now sold out and wanting to travel and get these things launched in other areas because they're so rewarding and beneficial.
And so you gotta be careful how you answer this, Ricky. But could it have happened without Lisa and Casera behind the scenes?
It would have been very hard, very, very hard. Yeah, I mean, I would. I had two of my volunteers who were working with them for registration assistance, and like, so it was 4 people, right, trying to keep up with it. So, I mean, we probably would have had to cap it or something. I don't know. Yeah, at some point, I had to been like overwhelmed, very overwhelmed.
I have had, before we had that set up, when I would do Schoolies Mountain and stuff, I mean, we had to do a lot of what they did behind the scenes. And when you and I, Ricky, basically showed up there, we had to meet the people, set up the room, talk to the leaders, but we didn't really have to deal with the registration and all of that. It was pretty much, not pretty much, it was handled.
It was totally handled. Yeah.
So that happens from behind the scenes. And the team that we have now is behind the scenes. We need them.
It's vital.
And they help to free up the volunteers to do what is best for the volunteers to do, I think. So, and we couldn't run them this quickly without the behind the scenes team. We just couldn't. So Chris, Sarah, and Lisa, we give them golf claps at least, because they.
And I was constantly doing that in the emails, like, I appreciate you guys so much. Like, oh my gosh, the hour difference, the time difference here is different too. So I'm trying to keep that into consideration as I'm emailing them. But they would, late at night, just be like, boom, getting on stuff, changing flyers, just kind of adapting stuff with me, because they know the next morning I'm going to be, doing things. And so, yeah, so grateful for all their hard work and their commitment and their response, their quick response with things, and detailed, so everything was handled accordingly and timely. So great job.
It's funny
because they helped me a lot too with the registration process and all that. But Ricky did all the heavy lifting. I kind of did what I could. I had so many things going on. So thanks, Ricky, for all the work you did.
Yeah, but now Bruce, look now, because one of your guys went, who was, he's all sold out and ready for you. He's like, he wants to be the point man for your group. And so that's great. I mean, I knew we just needed to kind of lay that. I knew we just needed to get people there and get it going and have them experience it. And then we would get more help later on. And that's what happened.
Yep.
And this team, everybody is who, we're creating this high level team, like Ricky was saying, that are going to go around now and be able to start retreats everywhere. And with our administrative team behind us, it makes it possible for us to go quickly and start a retreat. I mean, we started talking about Missouri, I think, just a couple of weeks ago, right? 3 weeks ago, maybe. And we're going to be there in 3 weeks and running this thing. And then this thing in Portland, Oregon, I mean, we told them, get us a spot. I can put a team together pretty quickly and bring some people up into Oregon. And we never could do that before, right, Dale? We would never be able to move into another part of the country that quickly.
It would be difficult. They would have to have a big team set up ahead of time.
Right.
for us, a big group or, you know, a big church, they'd have to have all the help. And we would give them financial assistance to get it started. But logistically, they would have to do all of that. And so it was a lot harder back then. Um, you know, I'm really kind of amazed that when you know, that God provides what we need when we go. I mean, He really, you know, that the steps have given me faith that allow me to. I believe, I trust Him. Okay, we're going to go do this, and it's going to come off really well because this is what you want us to do. So it is pretty cool that now we could just, because that was always my favorite thing. I probably went to 150 retreats, 200 retreats in my life, and I always loved going to them. Not as much as the ones here where I had to work, but the ones where I went to and just got to be of service and be used by God to, I mean, hear a fifth step or talk to someone at lunch or pray for somebody or, you know, carrying this message. It's really what I was made for, I found. So anybody can do it. I'm not that special that you can't do. You can't lead one of these retreats because you're not doing it alone.
Right.
It's like they say in the AA rooms, we're not alone anymore. We have help, and if we ask, we receive.
So Bruce, I know that you were involved with a lot of the planning. You wanted to be involved in all the planning. A lot of it just had to do with timing, right? When we were having the meetings and all. And I know we can talk a minute about the planning meetings and how important I think they are. They're a pain for some to attend all the time, but it totally makes a difference in the way the retreat comes off. I think both in Nevada City and in Loma Mar, us meeting weekly prior to it made a huge difference because it kept us in communication.
Yeah.
How do you see your involvement coming as we move towards the future, Bruce? I know that you have a champion now from your organization that's going to kind of take on, but that's really you behind the scenes.
Right. Well, you know, part of it is I have I'm the pastor of a recovery ministry at my church. And so my time is limited, what I can put into believe. But I have a team that works with me that I'm trying to get involved. And I got one of them to go to the retreat. And now he's sold and he's explaining to everybody that it does work. And so I think at some point it's going to spread a little further. And so I would be involved more. My team would be involved under my direction. And so my involvement's going to be probably limited, but I will be behind the scenes of my leader, kind of directing things and promoting things and all that. And with Ricky's like a great help. So thank God for Ricky.
And we have Don Z and we got Rick Soukalis and Dale Marsh. You know, the team, the high level team in California is really what a model of what the rest of the country will be, we hope, as we go. So it is a big volunteer effort, for you guys listening to. It's 98% volunteers that really deal with this retreats and get it going. And without all of those that volunteer, we wouldn't be able to do it. But our administrative team has kind of put the whole thing on fast track because it takes it now and enables us to move much quicker in response to needs. And that's a vision of mine. And I know it's a vision of Steve and Sue Foreman and BJ and those that are and Dale, us that are from back in the day. The vision was to have this message go everywhere that we can. So we want to keep moving forward and we keep talking to you guys. We keep dealing with you guys and growing our team and hoping that we don't stress any one person out too much. We're going to be back in Loma Mar at the end of August. We're going to be back in Nevada City a couple weeks later in September. We're going to be back in Florida in November, back in Amory. We'll probably be up in Portland. There's even San Diego I'm hearing. We've got Arizona this summer. All these things going on and all different teams working them. So it's great. And there's Jonathan Klein. We were wondering when we're going to do it on Long Island, Jonathan. The East Coast is falling behind. We got to get all the Yankee fans need to get together, all these Giants fans and all. Anyway, the East Coast, because there's a need everywhere, guys. There's a need everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate what all you guys do. I couldn't do it either. None of us could do it with all the volunteers that put their time in. But right, like Ricky said, no matter what happens, and something always goes wrong, and there's always stress, and there's always this big, oh no, what's going to happen? But when we see people come up on Came to Believe on Sunday, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yep.
And they talk about what the weekend did for them. And we say, all right, I guess we got to do it again. Right, Dale?
Yeah.
All right. Sign the contract. We'll be back, 4 months later. Thanks, Kisara. That'd be great. Let's talk a minute about, guys. I want to talk about recovered versus recovering with all of you guys for a second, and what we teach at the retreat, and what this condition of life that people leave in, and what your skepticism was on it, if you ever were ever skeptical about it, because this is one of the big things we hear: recovered. You can't be recovered. You have to be recovering, and we cover it very deeply at the retreats, right? And we go in. The book says you can be recovered, so why can't we be? But let's talk a minute about what recovered versus recovering looks like. For me, it means that I'm relieved of this obsession. I am not have that same mental state of mind. I'm relieved of that, of everything, and that I move forward from a normal. I deal with life like everyone else, but it does not. I don't struggle with addiction or alcohol or drugs or anything like that anymore. And I move through my life from a recovered state, like I've dug out of the hole. I'm worthy. I'm equal to others. I'm not less than. And that's recovered. And it is what they say. If you live your 10, 11, and 12, what do you guys say? Anybody can go first.
Well, I read the big book a whole bunch of times, and I never read that part about recovered, and I always felt funny. And actually, I've been feeling funny before I heard from Came to Believe about calling myself an alcoholic, because I didn't consider myself an alcoholic anymore, because I didn't have the desire for it. So, and then I went to a meeting where only one guy would say, I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I'm looking around, and the pressure, and it's the meeting that I went to, there was like 40 people. And at the beginning of the meeting, each person would go around and announce their name. And everyone was saying alcoholic, recovering alcoholic, and it was coming around to me, and I'm going, am I going to say recovered? The pressure to not say recovered is really strong. And it came around to me, and I said, I'm a thankful recovered alcoholic, and went through and I was only me, and one other person was saying that, but I'm like, okay, I got through that, because that's who I am. And my identity is not a recovering alcoholic, it's a recovered alcoholic. That's who I am. And so, I have no problem with it now, but I also, but some people get turned off by that. So, and we don't want to be a stumbling block to anybody either. Right. So, someone gave me a suggestion, that you could say, I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, kind of, doesn't ruffle feathers and things like that. So that's something you can also say. So anyway,
sometimes I say this, Bruce, I'll tell people you can be recovering if you want to be. We'll leave people from retreat. If you don't do your 10, 11, and 12, you might be recovering. Maybe you're not recovered, right? I think that opening is something I've realized lately, to say to people, you can leave here recovered, but you can leave here recovering as well. And that's a choice, and it's a part of your actions. But we always want to let them, and you're right, it's a turnoff from, we'd hate for the people not to be coming because they heard that they're going to have to say recovered, or that they become such a stumbling block. So we talk much more about it when we get into the retreat than we do before, except for on this show.
Yeah, I think for me, it's more about some of the folks that I've talked with that I respect and I value, and they do a lot of work in the rooms. It's more about that whole idea of the person who's struggling, the person who continues to struggle and construct, so they're like, they want to have a lot of grace. They want to extend to them the idea that maybe it's going to take you a year, maybe, and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like that's where it kind of became a normal thing to say, right? Like, you're in recovery, it's going to take you a long time. And a lot of these programs too, right, are some are a year long. You go into a center, right, in rehabilitation, and there's this slow process of healing and stuff. And, it takes a long time. But, again, it says it in the book. It says it in the book. And one analogy I like to use is like, if you break a bone and you get a cast, right, you're in recovery. You go and you get x-rays and your bone is totally healed, and the doctor takes it off and you're recovered. Your bone is attached, and you can, run and do all this stuff again, right? You're recovered. It's finished. It's complete, right? And so, you could break your bone again if you're not careful. What I mean? If you don't plan and prepare yourself for, being safe. So for me, that's kind of the idea, is that, like, I was broken. I was broken. I was totally obsessed, totally controlled, and by this obsession, and it was lifted. It has been lifted off of me. I mean, I could go into a bar, and, not that I would, but I could go into a bar and I've been around these environments, weddings and all kinds of stuff, and that obsession is gone to do it. And now, actually, I love the fact by the end of the night, I'm sober minded. I don't got to worry about it from driving home. I don't got to worry about anything, right? And I'm just like, I always
Right.
see some folks who are, a little past their limit, and I'm like, man, that used to be me, and I'm not that person anymore. And the reality is that, the 12-step process, right, and the God of my understanding is what did that for me, right? And so I think the mentality of telling myself, I've dealt with a lot of people who struggle with being in recovery and giving themselves a kind of green card to relapse and to relapse.
Mm.
Recovery, it's going to take me a long time, and I got to deal with all these wounds, and I got to do my 4-step, and it's taking me months and months, and, what I mean? And so sometimes it can hinder people. I think it can hurt people. And so we know that everybody has a process, but the reality is that I think you're recovered when you were hopeless and, dope fiend, drug addict, alcoholic, or whatever it was. I drank every single day. I used something every single day. It was every single day, and it was always until, it was too much. And now that changed. Something changed. Like, it stopped. It's I think a doctor, if I went and saw a doctor, they would diagnose me as someone who's recovered from my drug and alcohol addiction that I had before. 19 years, right? No relapses, and you know what I mean? And so, it's possible, and it does happen. And I think this is what this program represents. And so, and at the beginning of the retreat, we have those 3 questions that we ask, right? And they're very crucial, right? Do you have a problem? You want to do something about it? And are you willing to do anything? So the willingness, I think, is the idea. Are you willing to say that you're recovered? Are you willing to believe it? Because if you're not, then it may be hard to grasp. And it is hard to say, like, man, this has been my thing my whole life. This has always been who I am. I cannot see myself without a drink or something in my hand. And, I just cannot see myself as that person. So it's a whole new person comes forth. I broke off all the ties from my old, people that I was connected with, or so it was a whole new life that came forth. And again, I think a doctor's diagnosis would be, I'm recovered.
And Ricky, like you said, some people aren't given the freedom to say they can be recovered. They don't even know that it's something that they can, some recovery programs these days in the recovery world is telling you, right? And you said it too, Bruce, in the meetings, you're even pressured because of everyone. And it feels funny that we have to stay in this recovering mindset. And the book doesn't say that we can be recovering. It says that we can be recovered. And so letting people know that at least there's a choice if you want, right? You can be in this place being recovered.
Well, when I went through the steps in 1994, Steve Foreman took me through the steps, and he pointed out that on the title page of the book, Alcoholics Anonymous, 3rd edition, how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. I mean, it's just a statement of fact. So, I mean, I've had people complain about me using the word recovered. Their complaints don't change what I do. I've had people ask me a question. What about the ones you run off? Because you're always talking about spiritual things. You're always talking. I said, well, what about the ones that don't hear the truth and relapse and die? I said, those people are just as important as the people that you're talking about. So I say I'm recovered because it's the truth, and honesty is a part of my moral inventory. And I can't be saying things that aren't true about me, because I hear what I say. I believe as a man speaks, so he is. So if I keep saying things that aren't true about me, I'm not going to believe them, and then I can't believe them for you. You know, I can't believe that you can be recovered if I can't be recovered. So I did the steps the way the founders did them before they wrote the big book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they said they were recovered, so that makes me recovered. And I haven't had a drink or anything like that in 30 years, so that's good enough evidence for me that it works.
Mhm.
But there are people that don't like that, and that's okay. It's not my job to make everybody happy today.
You recovered. I love it. You know, thanks, Dale. Thanks, everybody. I once in a while have said recovering in a group where I was told they're going to close their ears off the minute you say that. And so we know we don't want to ruffle feathers and cause someone to stumble. I went into a meeting in California once and I just said, yeah, I'm an alcoholic to start my talk. And then as I was talking, about 10 minutes into the talk, I read some of those statements, Dale, about being recovered and things that the book says. And I said, because of this stuff that the book says, sometimes I do identify myself as recovered. And it went over much better with a little explanation about it, which is what we do at the retreats. We start off slow with them and then bring them in. When I was in Missouri 3 weeks or a month ago, when I was there meeting with some of the people that we're going to go be meeting with, Dale, one of the guys said to me, it's a struggle, man. This is such a struggle, you know, and we've got to be able to deal with the struggle. And this is what they're being taught. I said, you're struggling? And he said, well, yeah, that's the program that he's in. Teaches that you manage the struggle. And we hear that, I think, sometimes, that's a prevailing, this is recovering. He is recovering because of this struggle. And I looked at him and I said, well, I don't struggle. And he was taken aback. So it just more so inspires me to keep doing what we're doing, just so we can get that word out there that you can be recovered. I want to thank all of you guys to be on. Everybody, #recovered for the t-shirt. Lisa's going to be doing it. Who's doing it today? Lisa or Casera? One of you. Casera's doing it. Just get that #recovered in for your shirt. We're going to run the contest in a minute. Bruce and Ricky, I want to thank you guys for coming on. It was great. We love you guys being part of our team, and the future is going to be fabulous as we go forward and save many, many, many people and heal them from brokenness and launch them off into lives doing whatever it is they want to do in complete success. We'll see you guys again soon right here on Recovery Live. Have a good weekend, guys.
See ya.
And Dale will be, let's see, we can keep Dale. You want to stay on while we do how many people do we have, Casera, ready for the t-shirt giveaway? She says 10 people. That's good. All right. We'll give it it's 54. We'll give it another minute. Let's see, 10, and we'll let it go. And once you get it, guys, make sure you give us your address, because we have sometimes that Lisa will come and say, they didn't give us their address, and we don't know where to send the shirt to. So, of course, all of this stuff, guys, the shirts and everything we have is available on our website. It all goes to support some broken, hurting addict somewhere around the country. We don't turn anyone away. It's never about money. If you don't have enough money and you need to be there, you are covered. Some of it comes from things like this. But this shirt is free, coming to you. All right, you ready, Casera? Let's do it. Wesley is in Kentucky. Wesley, go ahead. Make sure you give us your address in the chat, or go give it in the messenger to Came to Believe Recovery, and we will send you out a shirt. So, come to the end of another weekend. Next week, we're going to be another British invasion, right? Casera from behind the scenes. It's going to be Dee from over there from Manchester. We'll be bringing some people on. Dee's going to be at some sort of a addiction or recovery convention or a event. No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Well, Dee's coming on with some people to talk about recovery next week. A festival. All right, there we go. It's just the wrong word. Thanks, Kasara. And she'll be bringing, so we'll have that British invasion, but then just like in 1776, we will break free from the UK and have freedom again. Now, don't say anything. Melissa's going to be like, whatever, Tom. Melissa.
How come they don't do fireworks on the 4th of July? That's what I want to know.
I know they don't do fireworks on the 4th of July. I guess we should let them defend themselves sometimes when we talk about it, right? But everybody have a great weekend. Dale, we'll be seeing you soon in a couple weeks out in Missouri and talking to you soon. Want to wish everybody a great weekend as we start the summer here. And we'll see you next. I'll see you back in 2 weeks, but we'll find you here on Recovery Live next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern, and 5 p.m. in the UK. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.
See you.